Go.
Good morning, Daily Huddlers. Before we get started, I just have a quick question for you, Kathryn. And the question is this. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Yoda lady.
Yeah, the lady. Who? Oh, Tara. Oh,
You can roll the tape. Is that?
Tara. Oh, I can see that one coming from a mile away.
I don't know why certain things make me laugh over and over again. That's funny. Good morning. Good morning, Daily Huddlers. It's December, and we are on Wednesday of the Daily Huddle, where we talk about everything communication and relationships. And we think this is a precious, precious topic because we believe that more effective communication makes for better relationships, and better relationships makes for better families, better friendships, better communities, and better business. So let's kick it off with some questions to our community today, people that we're in relationship with. And I would love to start with, and I am going to butcher your name, but if you would correct me, Harumi Anderson. So let's ask you this morning, how are you and where are you? You have to turn yourself off mute and tell us first how to say your name.
Thank you. Good morning, Tara, Mastermind Tara. Yes, you said right. Harumi.
Harumi, thank you. Yeah. How are you and where are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm in Columbus, Indiana, but I am originally from Toyota, Japan. So Harumi is my Japanese name.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you very much. And to say that you are fine is very much, from the little I know about your culture, very fitting. Harumi is the way she says she is, and she says she is fine. Good morning, Michelle. Please tell me this morning, what time is it and what are you grateful for?
The time is now, right now. The only time we have is the present. And I'm very grateful for this beautiful day. I'm going to be seeing some friends for a holiday celebration this evening. So I'm very grateful for all the friends I've made through business.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I am going to talk to Mary if she's with us. I haven't seen that smile in a while, and I love seeing that smile. Mary, you look like somebody is distracting you. So please tell me, who will you hug today?
I'm going to hug my son. I'm staying at my son's house overnight, and I'm moving between my house and his house. And I am just incredibly grateful for family, and I'm incredibly grateful for the relationship that I have with my family. And that has sometimes taken work on my part in communication. So I just love you, love the Daily Huddle, and love all that you guys teach us. So thank you.
Yeah. Wow, Mary, that was just a perfect segue into our topic today. We are going to talk today about relationships specifically and why they fade. And I think that was only half the question, because if we ask ourselves why a relationship fades, we know why. But why does that why matter? And so I'm going to ask Kathryn to kick us off with this juicy topic right before the holidays.
Yes. Thank you, Tara. And thank you everybody for being here. It is an interesting topic. And I think you're right that we all know why relationships fade. There's lots of reasons. Neglect, we forget to nourish those relationships, time, distance. A lot of times at different stages of life where it's really like with me with young kids, I end up being friends with their friends' moms because that's where I am in proximity to, and I don't have a lot of time outside of that. So it did get us thinking about why does the why matter? And I have a friend, a dear friend from high school, have known him for ages, and he lives in a different city that I go to not infrequently. And every time I go up there to Charlotte, I'm like, oh, I'm going to get in touch with him and I'm going to see him. And I never do. And he comes down to where I live not infrequently because he has family here. And I think, oh, he'll get in touch with me when he comes down. And he never does. And we still stay in contact and we chat every now and again. But it got me wondering when we were talking about this topic, why is that? Why don't I make the time to go up there? I make time to see other people. And it all came down to intentionality. That relationship doesn't feed me the way that it used to one time. Imagine that. I'm a different person than I was in high school. And I've really thought, like, it's a very short trip usually when I'm up there. Is that how I want to spend my time? And apparently it isn't, without really noticing it. It wasn't really a conscious choice, but it kind of is when you just don't make the effort.
Mhm.
So Tara, I wanted to use that to open up the conversation, to first talk about the different reasons why, because I do think it's important just to name them, even though we know what many of them are.
Right. And I don't think that I could capture all of them, but I think the common ones, one is neglect.
Mhm.
Another one is conflict. So as we know, so there could be neglect of the relationship for no specific reason. Then there's always conflict that we don't resolve and we walk away from. Another is trauma. I think some relationships fade because of the traumatic experiences that they have caused. And I think it takes strength sometimes to walk away from those and allow them to fade.
Or just to add one little thing there, or that they trigger in us. It could be a past trauma that somehow that relationship triggers in us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, this feels familiar in a very negative way. And then sometimes there's just external reasons out of our control. And then sometimes I think we make excuses. I've been busy, or blaming the other person. But the reason why I wanted to really try to ask ourselves why a relationship has faded, because I think then that really helps us to decide how we want to respond to it. Some relationships have faded, and it's potentially a positive thing. Do you have any relationships that you can think of that you have intentionally eliminated? Not including divorce.
Well, actually, if you have kids, you don't eliminate that relationship. No.
Yeah.
You eliminate a part of that relationship, but I can I can think of one specifically that I intentionally pulled back from. It was somebody that I was spending a lot of time with, but I noticed that how I felt afterwards, it was a little bit toxic. It wasn't hugely toxic, but it was the kind of energy, it kind of dragged me down. So I didn't end the relationship completely, but I pulled away and separated to give myself more space. So now when I see that person, because I still really care about them, we have a great time. It's good. Have a little remnants of that feeling, but it doesn't consume my life. And for me, it's a happy medium. I get to see her. I still get to, love and care about her, but it's not right in my face all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if because this is a little bit where I think the question for me really was meaningful, is when I stopped to ask myself about certain relationships and why they might have faded, then I asked myself the second part of the question for me personally, and that's, do I regret that they have faded? And a few of them I do. And it takes me to a time when I was spending time with old college girlfriends. And we were sitting out on a little balcony in Atlanta. And I said, I really regret that over the years, I have not been more intentional about staying in touch. And I'm sorry. And they were so welcoming, and they were so, they don't even look at it as something that was forgiving. They were like, but you're here now, and we're connecting, and we're not worried about the past. And, we know what you were going through, and we were going through our own stuff, and it wasn't our season. And I wanted to share this because I, until that moment, had a real insecurity about reaching out to people that I feel like I've neglected for many, many years. And I don't want that to ever stand in the way of rekindling a relationship that could be more beautiful today than it ever was before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that you say that. And, I had a similar experience, and there were two people in particular that I also regretted that we had slipped away. And a few years ago, made an intentional effort to reach out to them, and it didn't go anywhere. They kind of responded back. We tried to get on the phone. It didn't quite ever work. And then that was that. And it just, it wasn't a big thing or anything. And I thought that's really interesting. I always pay attention to that. And I was like, that's really interesting. It still made me sad. I still miss them, but it again, I guess it's still not our season.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you wonder this too? Here's where it can be a little hurtful is, are some relationships just not in our priorities?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, we
Time
only
is
have so much energy to give, and we only have so much time in the day, and it all comes down to priorities if we're on our game.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so that's what I mean about proximity and different stages of life. Because for me, when, my kids are still young, but when they were super little, I mean, that was it. The people that I saw on a daily basis were either at work or wherever the kids were, and whoever was at the playground or whoever's at the school event.
Mhm.
And so, and I did make some really good friends. But so I do think, and several years ago, I remember thinking, I don't have any of those really good, deep friendships on a real close basis. I have some friends spread out, but like I want a closer friend in proximity that I can see on a regular basis, who's that really good, juicy, not just like the surface level.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, I met my friend Meg, and became fast friends. And so, I set an intention and like had that friend. And then a couple years later, I thought I would like another one of those. And lo and behold, Tara Heaton came into my life. And, it's really interesting about, I could say that I'm busy and these are the only people that I see, but we can be really intentional about what do we want in our lives? Who do we want to surround us? And let's task the universe with bringing that forward and pay attention to see waiting for it to show up.
I love how intentional you were about that. When you said you want a friend that's close in proximity, it makes me think of my friend Kathleen, whom you've met. We lived less than a mile from each other, about a mile, for most of the years of raising our kids. And 2-3 nights a week, she'd be sitting at my kitchen counter, working the water faucet while I cooked dinner and tried to help manage the calamity that was in my life. And today we at least talk once a week. And I because we want to keep that relationship renewed and real and connected. And I think that there are relationships that stay connected like that. And I'll tell you, one of the most beautiful things about it to me is if we let too much time go by, then we think, oh my gosh, I don't have 2 hours to catch up with this person and catch them up with me and catch up with them till we can kind of set the foundation for connecting going forward. And so, I definitely love that there are some people in my life, and you're one of them, that we talk, quick. It's always just a few minutes here, a few minutes there, but it keeps us connected to each other's current story. And that's a beautiful gift in this life. It really, really is.
Yeah, you talk about that a lot, about how you're able to pick up the phone and pick up with somebody just like that. And how that does, one, it takes a type of friendship that you have that trust built in. And it also takes keeping up with the relationship, because if too much time passes, then you do need to catch people up on where you are, what you're starting from, So I think that has a lot to do with it too, the energy that's spent there.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's not to dismiss, though. I mean, this is such, just as I said, a layered or juicy topic, because that's not to dismiss the friends that we talk to once a year, twice a year, and it feels like yesterday. But I do I want to dig into some of the more difficult reasons why relationships fade. And one of them is conflict. And this is so ironic, but today is my 29-year-old daughter's birthday. And she's my youngest. And yesterday she called me and she said, can you talk? Which we talk probably 2 or 3 times a week. And I said, yes. And she said, well, tomorrow is my birthday, last year in my 20s. And I'm thinking about 3 people that I have intentionally really eliminated from my life. And she said, I wonder if this has something to do with me. And we talked through all 3 of these relationships, and 2 of them were just drowning in conflict. I mean, there was just more angst and more disagreement, more jealousy, more pressure. So I wonder what you think about relationships that we've intentionally taken out of our lives due to conflict, and maybe that's just okay to let those be.
Well, I think again, why does why matter, right? Is because it goes back to the intentionality. Why is this person in my life? Every relationship that has every relationship at some point has conflict if there's any sort of depth. doesn't have to be dramatic or big. You just may have a disagreement. And the staying power of working through that can really, and the vulnerability can really deepen a friendship, a relationship. So
True.
yeah. So I think it's absolutely fine to eliminate anybody that you think doesn't feed you, doesn't fill you up. I would just say, be cognizant and aware. Is that a knee-jerk reaction because I don't want to deal with that feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because I don't want to face something that's here being presented in this relationship? Or is it truly, I've gotten really clear, this is a difficult decision. This is really not the best for me. Like, I always have to look at those two things. And so I think it's absolutely fine to eliminate conflict, and it doesn't mean it's not going to be sad and be hurtful. It's, I mean, I was watching a movie, A Boy Called Christmas, and very, very good, but very sad at points. And this older woman babysitter is telling the kids a story, and they said, how are you ever going to get to a happy ending with this story? This is awful. And she said, happiness isn't compulsory. And I thought, wow, it's not guaranteed, is it? And so it can be sad and feel like a relief, and it can be all those things at once.
Yeah, I think that is really something that I think to think about going forward when we think about conflict in relationships. And I'll tell you what else is coming up for me, Kathryn, is I'm reading this book called Let's Take the Long Way Home. And it's by a woman named Gail Caldwell. And I don't know if y'all remember, about 10 or so years ago, there was a memoir that was wildly popular, and it was called Drinking, a Love Story, by a woman named Caroline Knapp. Well, Caroline has since died, and this book is written by her best friend.
Oh, wow.
And she tells the journey of their friendship, and there's conflict in there. And she, and I mean, she's just a phenomenal writer, but she has a way of showing that it's those times of conflict that they've come through with authenticity that's made them closer and closer and closer. Until, now her dearest friend, she died, I think, in her 40s of lung cancer. And what she has left are these treasured memories, and part of them are rooted in conflict.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think the what is it? The dichotomy that can live in a relationship or any situation, but specifically a relationship, is worth paying attention to. And I think sometimes, at least for me, my first reaction is like, oh, that's uncomfortable. That doesn't feel good. Maybe it's not a good thing, and it's like,
I can see you doing that.
And then my second thought is, I need to slow down, open up, and get curious.
Yeah.
It is like, what is this about, and where in me is this living, and what is, what's coming up for me? And am I trying to just not feel uncomfortable? Mm-hmm. Or is there something here that needs to be explored so that I can grow?
Yeah. I just can't help. I'm not going to bite my tongue about what is bubbling up in me right now, Kathryn. And what you just shared is one of the reasons I freaking adore you, respect you, and love you, because you didn't stop with, well, that's just the way I am. You said, this is what I'm feeling, and do I want to work through this and be better for it? And to me, that's the sign of a lifelong friend. So shine on, sister.
I agree. We've got several people with questions, and I want to open it up.
Florence had her hand up first, and she went away. I don't want to miss her.
Yeah, Florence, did you have something to say, or?
Yes, I was just going to say, it's a very pertinent topic. Good morning, everyone. Actually, nearly 2 years now, I have actually just about cut someone out of my life. I haven't discussed it, but really, I think I have tried for a long time to see if I could resolve, a conflict in that situation. But then I seem to feel that I'm about to cut someone else, because and I feel it's like similar things. And I have to say specifically, it's that I do not like people prying into my life. Like, if I have a friendship with you, what I tell you is what I want to tell you. When there are people that I find that they want to go beyond, and they're determined to go beyond what you tell them, and I just I don't like it. So
Mm.
I don't know if it's something with me or if it's something with, that I have to change. But I think that I'm just comfortable with letting go of friendships like that. And
Mhm.
I'm just going to let it be. I just feel this, I'm going to let that be because I really don't feel comfortable with that type of friendship.
Yeah.
So I
Florence, you're
don't know
bringing
what
up
to do with
something.
that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. You're bringing up something really important. Well, a couple of things. One is boundaries. We get to decide how we want to be, what we want to share, how much, and it is so important for us, I think, to listen.
Yes, I
Listening
just
is-
I just wrote that down. Sorry to interrupt. I just wrote that down and I said, when you find people who do not respect your, boundaries, I don't feel that, and constantly are disrespecting your boundaries. I feel that you need to distance yourself from those situations.
yeah,
I
really
would
good.
love to chime in on this topic too. I'm so glad you brought it up, Florence, because some of you know my husband is German, and I have a tendency, Florence, potentially to be the friend that you don't want, which is going to ask I'll be the one to ask the hard questions. He's not like that. But what I would say to you, because you said, I wonder if it's me. I don't think it is all you. It's just your preference. And I just really encourage you to have the strength to say, I don't care to share that. And if someone doesn't respect that, then I'm all about those boundaries. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's different in how much they want to share and with whom. And I say celebrate who you are and where you're comfortable, because friendships, they should be comfortable and they should be trusted. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Florence.
sharing.
Cece, we'd love to hear from you today. Is she there? Cece, are you
Hello,
there?
can you hear me?
Yes,
Mm.
now we can.
Yes, thank you so much for this topic. I have learned when I didn't have the knowledge about redirecting a person's conversation or having healthy boundaries, oftentimes I would just avoid conversations with people who are very confrontational and like to be pushy in the conversation. I would just stop taking calls.
Mhm.
Now I accept the calls and I share what the healthy boundaries are for me. And there are some things that I'm just not equipped to counsel. And that's, people who are having difficult times and they're not able to let go by just having a conversation. Since I'm not a licensed professional, I ask them to dump with them instead of onto me, things that are really unresolved. So today I am doing things better by communicating clearly what the boundaries are. And if the person is just venting, I know how to listen and I don't have to be right all the time because everyone has an opinion. And maybe their opinion that they're sharing at that time, they're just trying to get out. That doesn't mean I have to agree with it or disagree with it. And now that I have better conversation as far as dealing with conflict, I don't even have to respond because it's just not my place to try to quote unquote control anyone. And I don't want to control anyone because
Right.
their opinion does matter. And whether or not they know is right or wrong at some point, if they do the research, they will learn themselves unless they ask me my opinion. So
Right.
I'm okay with not having what do you call it, conflict, and I'm okay with dealing with conflict now that I am equipped to have a conversation with another person and just listen. So thank you so much for this topic, and I pass.
Thank you, Cece. It is so true. We are all at choice. So we can choose to be in that conversation or we can step out.
With that respect.
Yeah, exactly. With respect. Yeah. Mary.
One of the things that came up for me was intentionality is I'm so blessed to have a wealth of friends, but one of the things that I know is that many of the friends who are my age or older, people I went to high school with, people who are not on Facebook, who are not technology savvy, it's easy for them to drop off the radar. So I have put a message in my calendar, a weekly message in my calendar is to call or text. And I've got about 8 names on there of people that I just want them to, and I'll just send them a text and say, I just want you to know I'm thinking about you. And then I can say nothing else. It could be nothing else. But I have, but it takes an intentionality. And I was thinking this morning, there's a woman who I knew who's not on this list. I need to put her on this list, but I knew her for years. She was an amazing leader for me in Al-Anon, and just really a super friend. And she's older than I am. And I don't know, I called her several weeks ago and left a message, and I haven't heard back from her. And so I'm concerned. So I was thinking that's one person, and I'm glad you reminded me, because what I'll do is I'll put her name on that list right now to make sure that I call her. I make time. I've got to make time. You just have to make time if you're going to try to get in touch with people. Thank you. Thanks,
Mary. It's such a good point. If it's a priority, then we do make time for it. And to your point, we build it into our system and to our habits so that we make sure that we do that. It's a great reminder.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Rashida's got her hand up. Rashida.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the topic. And it's relationship for me is like I end up into long-term relationship, and I just came back from Costa Rica. I have a beautiful trip with my sister, and that's one of my contemporary partner in the past. You know, we grew up and we went on our merry way, but the bonding that we have awakening when we went on a trip, and you know, we went a mountain climbing and we hike and we went 4-wheel driving, and I said, come on, let's go. She said, you know what, you always the tomboy, you always are always just rough and tough. And I have those things in our lives when we went on a trip that you never expect to do. He said, that's why I love you as a sister. I love you as the queen that you are. I love you for the friendship that you, and it's funny because she don't speak to one of my sister and I speak to the sister, and they back and forth. I said, no, stop. Don't take me for your cushion. I'm not going to take nothing. I'm not going to bring anything. I'm going to be on the neutral ground, and this is the relationship I build with everybody. I don't carry nor bring. I am in the center of the relationship, and I love both of you, are left and right. Trust me, it's one of those relationships that I built, and I went to with my girlfriend to Curacao. 42 years of relationship. And trust me, we didn't see each other yesterday. We hug and but the relationship that I built is long-term relationship. And like I would tell people, my relationship is until death do us part. Thank you so much, guys.
Beautiful. Love it. Long term.
We got time for one more, Tom. I know we're getting close to time, but what you got for us today?
Well, thank you, Kathryn and Tara. Good morning. You know, when I first heard you say the question, I thought, you know, the response is either you choose to be in the relationship or you choose to exit. I know as we're talking about boundaries and working through some challenge, that, you know, that's a little bit of a middle ground. I guess I wanted to ask you another type of middle ground scenario. You know, say a relationship where you're like, you have some responsibility for that person. And they treat you in very poor, negative ways. And then you're struggling with, you know, how do you fulfill those responsibilities? But then how do you also, you know, in the near term, you know, how to be in that relationship? I don't know. I'm just curious your thoughts.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. Tara, you want to take a go?
Well, you made it somewhat hypothetical, and since we're friends, it's hard to keep it hypothetical, but I would say, and I think we've probably said this before, but I would say that it's one of those times when one of the most powerful things you can say is, what would you advise your child to do in this situation? And if someone's treating you poorly, as long as they have somewhat strong cognitive function, like intellect is what I mean, sometimes the most loving thing we can do is to let them learn that we can't treat people that way, and that will keep them from being treated that way one day. And separation is temporary. So that's straight from the heart, man.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. And Tom, what I would say is similar, because I did hear the words in my head, we treat people how to treat us, or we teach people how to treat us. And I think that's really important. And we can love from afar. I mean, you're saying if you have responsibility for somebody, it's not something that you can fully exit, but we can love from afar. But we do really need to teach those around us how we want to be treated. And I think especially, like you say, with children, like they need to learn that too, so that they, like, if it's your child, like you don't want them to grow up and be treated any kind of way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for bringing such a heartfelt message. And we're going to close out now. Thanks for being with us for a couple of extra minutes today, and wanted to start with love, because we are here to talk about relationships and communication, and love is at the heart of all of that. So be sure to love with your whole heart. And that might mean bring some pain at some point. Give of your time, your spirit, make it your priority if you want to have those relationships continue, and laugh. That is a fun part of relationships. Be sure to throw your head back and laugh with wild abandon. Relax, stress less, eat more plants, get that sleep, and move that body. I saw Stan stretch earlier, and it's just move it or lose it, guys. Like, ooh, we love you all. We will see you next time on the Daily Huddle. Thank you so much for being with us today.
One love, guys. One love.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
ladies.
you.
Always.
Have a wonderful day now. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.